I even in the fire service, even with the drive and determination that I had a lifetime of limiting beliefs. So I'm born and raised. I have a construction background. My family owned an underground excavation company. I worked for them all the way until I became a firefighter. I click OK on this. Um, I was an athlete. Played basketball, played football, all the good stuff. I knew about team sports. I partook and I enjoyed them. Right, but for whatever reason, I had lack of confidence, not from lack of parenting. My mom and dad were wonderful. They built me up. They put me in all the best rooms that I could possibly be in, with what they knew. Okay, so born and raised, small town, left there to go become a firefighter at the age of 26, got hired on. So I've been doing that now, like I said, for 18 years. Lifetime of limiting beliefs, lack of confidence, and went into a period after being in the fire service, kind of all fell apart after about I'd say 5 or 6 years, maybe 7 years. I'm terrible with dates, but I had an injury. I had L5S1 that needed to be fused. Okay, um, what happened is probably just years of the fitness journey. I was in a car accident when I was 17. Who knows how much that played a part of it, right? But there was a lot of things going on in my life. I had to have L5S1 fused at actually I was in my early 30s. So during that time I hit a complete wall. It was just like having to not learning to walk again, but having to go through rebuilding strength, right? Limiting beliefs, toxic relationships. I was suicidal. A couple months into my recovery, I wasn't drinking. I was on medication. I was definitely medicated. I was on some stuff for my ADD and the stuff to help me recover from the surgery. Right, it was a depressant, but I grabbed the gun. I was in a relationship I shouldn't have been a part of. Either way, that being said, I grabbed a gun, walked in the closet, loaded it, put it to my temple, set it back down, emptied it, reloaded it, put it to my temple. Just sitting there crying like I don't deserve to be here. I just had no confidence in who I was, what I was doing, and I knew I was making some really poor decisions. I was toxic relationship, you know. I was looking for validation in the wrong places. What it really came down to, I was looking the outside, you know, and I told myself I don't deserve to be here anymore. I'm not a good person. I wasn't happy with some of the decisions I was making. Not that I was I mean, I was a career firefighter. I wasn't doing anything terrible, but I just wasn't happy with the decisions I was making, right? And I knew where I was and having to start over. I just thought, this game's over. I'm done, you know? Called my folks and said, I need help. I need help. I need out of the house. I got a gun here and I need help. So I went and lived with my sister and brother-in-law for a short period. Okay. Fast forward a year, maybe not quite a year. That stuck with me. Like I was carrying shame through and just the thought of what did I do? Why did I do it? And why is it still bothering me? And I said, fuck this. I'm no longer going to let this have any power over me. This will no longer, I'm not going to, I'll carry it, but for a different reason. I will carry it to remind others. I will, I will allow that to imprint me so that nobody else feels that type of pain, um, discomfort, just worthlessness, right? That's what it really came down to. I told myself, so I started something, and it wasn't war within then. It was me. So it was my struggle, right? And my nickname was Squirrel. So what I did is I came up with a design with a squirrel wearing a straitjacket. And I did that for a short period of time. And that was my story, my struggle, my hurdle fear inside. That was a straitjacket. And Jake could be walking down the street and nobody would know I was fighting anything. I covered it up real good. But man, when I was at home, I was broken. That was prior to, this was all building blocks, right? It was expansion, right? But I carried it. I was like, I'm not going to just, I'm going to allow my story I'm going to share my story, and I'm going to do it through Squirrel and Straitjacket. Like I said, this Straitjacket is struggle, hurdle, fear inside. I said, I'm going to start this platform. And I did on IG, and I did it for a little bit. And it was fun. It was a good way to meet some people. But it wasn't enough. Like, it was an expansion. So I'm in the fire service, seeing stuff, being a part of a team, but also not knowing and being very good at maybe getting rid of some of this debriefing, and getting rid of the stuff that you're struggling with and carrying a lot. I had to figure out a different way to carry it. I had to figure out a way to make it into fuel, turn it into fire, right? So all those things happened. Squirrel and Straitjacket was the thing for a while. And still didn't defeat me. I was like, I had a continuous desire for more. I was like, I come from a construction background. My family owned an underground excavation company. My grandfather had built 100 employees, but people in town knew him. I lived in a small town, Washougal, with a population of like 10, 12,000 people a handful of years ago. I don't know what it's at now, but everybody had a story for him. And I was thinking about this the other day after you talked to me about this coming on. And I was like, he was a man of impact. He was a man of impact. He impacted lives, right? He helped put food on the table. And Squirrel was my way of trying to like generate some sort of platform to remind people that they're not in their fight alone, right? That whatever struggle, whatever demon, whatever past that's hard, that's a hurdle and a wall for you, and you're struggling to break through it. First of all, you're not alone, right? So I did that for a couple years, and then was driven for more. I wanted to grow. I just knew there was more for me in life rather than not just even fire service. I was like, there's more for me. So I was on social, how we use IG. IG is a tool. Instagram is absolutely a tool. And I came across a guy by the name of Mansfield, Nathan Mansfield. And I looked into him, and he was running a program called 33 Hours. And my wife at the time was like, I was like, I'm gonna do this. So I did, and the rest is fucking history, though. So through Nathan, first of all, 33 hours was the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It was 33 hours straight, and it was he's former military, and Jeremiah Sullivan, who also coached with him in that, as a officer ranger, was a ranger, and they flipped the switch. What they did in those 33 hours enabled me to see that nothing's going to kill me. Nothing will kill me. That nothing I put in front of me will kill me. It's just these struggles, all these bad habits from the past, right? I just was like, I buried the old version of Jake that didn't believe in himself. You see how I carry myself on IG? That derived from that time. The way that I speak right now, yeah, I'm a little nervous, right? So I'm all over the place, but my even ability to come on here, I've been asked to do podcasts or coaching calls before for a couple people, and I always backed down because I was too nervous, right? I didn't have enough confidence in who I am or what I am. It's like, you know what? Everybody's going to be dead in 100 years. Everybody that that they say a couple generations, right? So why are we worried about what other people think, right? So it was in Mansfield's program, Crucible, where I met Adam. And that kid is my brother. He has literally become my family. I love the kid. You talk about a rock, man. That kid's my rock. But sorry, I'm all over the place.
Yeah,
Together.
man,
So after
don't worry about it, man. I'm
so
sure that's many of us here.
Yeah, just roll.
so 33 hours, I was introduced to Adam. And what's wild is Squirrel and Straitjacket kind of was still in the back of my mind. And I was sitting with my barber, and I was like, telling him about 33 hours, telling him about how I'm trying to level up in my life, trying to find the greatest version of myself, all these different things. This is before I met Adam. And he goes, Jake, you're at war within yourself. Everything that you're trying to do is just literally I would used to say, remove the layer of my straitjacket. That's what I used to say. Like, remove the straitjacket layer by layer, right? To figure out and to build a greater version of yourself. And I was like, pause, go back, repeat. And he said, "You're at war within." I said, "That's the name." And it became one word. But yeah, so and then so I met Adam through Nathan, and we've been on this journey now since February of last year. We did our release uh, in June. But what it really comes down to, the struggles, all the demons, all the past hurt, they can't take ownership of who we are, what we want to become. And what it really comes down to, you can know you. I'm a visionary. I'm a visionary. Adam's our operator. Adam operates everything. This I couldn't operate War Within without my brother. I couldn't do it. But what I do is I see and I find that I'm looking for people to help implement, because this has to go and it has to be seen, and people have to be heard. What it really comes down to, we're not here to coddle. You hear how we talk, you hear what we post. We're not. I want to wage war. I want to wage war and dismantle the stigma, one person at a time. And I want people to be willing to jump and to take the risk and go after everything in their fucking heart, because we can sit here and we can know everything. You can have all the quotes, you can read all the books, and trust me, there's a lot of reading that goes on. All the mindset books, you name it. I haven't read Andy's book, but oh shoot, now I'm having blanks. But the standard.
You're good. What's your favorite book so far?
I've read the standard I'm going on 3 times. Ben Newman, the standard. And it
Yeah.
kind of makes sense too, right? Because he was Mansfield's mentor. So,
Yeah.
But what I really think is important, and what Adam and I are just big on as we build this out, is that there's nothing that will stop us. It's literally who you are and I have to expand. Adam has to expand. We all, like me as a firefighter. Okay, first of all, I work construction as a kid, working for my family. The family started, my grandpa was the glue. When he passed away, the company slowly deteriorated. A lot of family greed, everybody wanted a piece of the pie. I decided I wanted to go into firefighting. Firefighting was an expansion. I saw my grandpa, what he built. I wanted to do something on my own. So I became a firefighter. Squirrel and Straitjacket was a taste. I saw something. I was like, this needs to be talked about. People need to feel comfortable in their skin. People need to be okay speaking their truth, right? And then War Within. Now, War Within, I had a mentor. I found a business partner that's a fucking complete savage, right? And I'm just like, we have to go. And there is no quit. I don't care. You have to know one thing. When I was suicidal, life was easier than it is now. I'm a single dad who pays a fuck ton of money to my ex and try and start all over again. And my mom and dad, I talked to them here a couple weeks ago about something in regards to everything that we're doing. And they were like, "You're a complete different person than when you were suicidal." But they're like, you couldn't they told me, they said, that divorce would have hit you even harder if you hadn't done all the work that you've been doing. If it wasn't for, putting myself in the room, you know, every everything happens for a reason, right? But the thing is, you can't sit and wait. You have to be bold. You have to jump. You have to take the risk. Nobody's going to hand it to us. We got to do the work. That's one thing we're big into. Adam, if you want to jump in, you can. But we do a lot of posts in regards to fitness, because that's only one aspect, but it's a really big aspect. You've done all the work. You've been putting in the time. You told me the other day how much weight you've lost. Emotional, spiritual, physical. That all the pillars. But my purpose is to never let anyone feel the pain, and feel like they were struggling like I did. Like we say, wage war within, bleed forward, My biggest thing is to try to enter the room and give everybody what I got from my heart. You know, that's my responsibility now to share. Like I like to say, my uh, my purpose is greater than my pain. Sorry, I was having a brain fade because it's true. And if I'm not willing to speak on what happened to me, then how many other people are going to shy away when they need it the most? I didn't have somewhere to turn. Yeah, when I was suicidal, there was programs in place. Yeah, I didn't reach out. I didn't. First of all, you don't think about it when you're in the dumps, right? What Adam and I are trying to
That's not
build, very
me.
similar. Huh? Yeah,
That's not me. Yeah.
yeah. So what Adam and I, our biggest thing is you are the combination of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Everybody's out there saying it right now, but it's fucking true. I mean, you read the books, you listen to the people, it's true. The people who you put yourself in the room with is going to impact you the most. Put yourself in the room with people that have purpose, that have the same fucking mission as you. Your friends that you drink with on the weekends, if that is a thing, you know, your glory day friends, those are your glory day friends. What do I want now? I want to build a fucking company that is a household name so that people know where to go. It's going to be a funnel. It's not just we are a community right now and we happen to sell clothes, but what the whole point is to get beside those that are battling their demons and let them know that you got a brother that's fucking got his sleeves up in the goddamn ring with you and is going to face it beside you. I ain't going to shy down. I'm not going to coddle you. I'm going to pray with you. I'm going to pick you up as you fall down. I'm going to look you in the fucking eye and say, let's go again. Let's go again. That's my responsibility. I was there. You know, I didn't think I had the worth. And now it's like, no, I know who I am. And it's, man, I'm really glad I didn't fucking pull the trigger because you're about ready to fucking impact some people. You're going to change some lives, man, because you're going to be loud about it. You're not going to be overwhelming, but you're going to be loud and you're going to speak the truth and you're going to remind people that it's okay to be going through some shit. Don't fucking go in the shadows. Raise your fucking hand. We got torches and we're carrying them in the fucking trenches to come find you and we will lift you up one by one. And we will help you. We will help coach you. We've been around the right people. We will work with you. And if we don't know something, we'll fucking get answers, you know? I had a gal a couple months back. She reached out. She had tried to commit suicide multiple times. She was more probably like a cry for help, right? But there's a company called Next Run that's similar. They've been around a little bit longer. They're a nonprofit, and actually, a couple of our guys pretty close to our program, real tight with us, used to be with them real significantly. But I reached out and I said she's tried to take her life multiple times, and they're like, we've dealt with her. She's a repeat. I go, I don't give a fuck. Didn't have me there this time. I said, you reach out to her. I will continue to talk to her. Let's find a way. She reached out literally this last week and she said, I'm a completely different person. And she told me, she goes, if you wouldn't have walked with me on this, I don't know if I would have done it. And she goes, she spent 3 months in rehab with firefighters, police officers. She's a former EMT. She also worked in a nursing home and stuff like that. But she was like, I reached out to Next Run. I put the people in place and I've walked beside her until they put her in the position that she needed to be in. And that's what I want to do. I don't care if it's it'll be one at a time. That's all it takes. If I can impact one life. So I think it's, yeah, there's just my mission outside of my son and, you know, trying to build the best life for myself is literally to build something, a community where warriors, because the people that aren't warriors aren't going to want to have anything to do with Adam and I. They're not. But the people with the right mindset, I want them to come to a place where they feel like family, but they know that Jake and Adam will literally be their 3 a.m. brother, right? Like and want them to know that it's okay to struggle. And if you got vices, we'll work through it, but we got to, not saying I don't ever drink. I drink a little bit. I'm human. I haven't turned off everything, but at the same time, I have discipline in place that I never had before. That's another thing that 33 hours brought for me. It brought another level of understanding. First of all, that this shit's not going to kill me. Second of all, that there's way more than my body is capable of. They pushed every single limit. It was 105, 107 degrees. I was wearing a Camelback. They filled it up constantly. We were fed MREs, but I was in fucking, you name it, running, air squats, push-ups. It was mental business and performance mindset type of stuff. But it was like if you weren't on the battleground physically bleeding, then you were getting your mindset. You were getting tweaked. They literally buried me. I tell Adam this all the time. I said, when I die, they're gonna have to bury me 20 feet deep because I'm gonna fucking get back up and I'm coming out of the grave. Because there's way too many people that fucking need to hear this shit. Sorry. But yeah. I think
No, I
what
love
people
it, man. That's
I
awesome.
think people
You know,
I think people
it's
I'm sorry. We're gonna
no, you're
go.
good. Go ahead. You
I
know,
just want people to be reminded
the
that they're the
technology. So when you were talking about, the silence, right? And you guys did a post the other day about, the silence and everything on IG. And it's crazy because, you think about we go through the day and we're going through everything, we're getting shit done, we're getting after it. Then for me, when it gets the loudest is when I'm sitting in that silence. That's when I start feeling like I'm not enough or I'm not doing enough or the mistakes or all that stuff just starts coming in, and it's in that silence where it gets so fucking loud,
right.
and that's where it gets dangerous, right? Because you can look at it. I've had to learn to scratch that record, right? Be like, hey, you know what? No. I see it. I see you. I get it. But no. This isn't me. This is a lie. This isn't where who I am or what I'm about, or it's just, it's I came from literal nothing. When I met my wife, I literally made it a point to drive her up to my hometown to show her a bridge that I lived underneath. I'm like, I need you to know. I need you to see this for a second, right? And she's Southern California born and raised, right? I mean, it's all palm trees, everything else for her, right? And it's not having the support and everything. I mean, you had an incredible family. Some of us might not have had that. And as you're going through and you're trying to figure out who you are, it's again, I came from nothing and created everything. And I remember about 10 years ago, man, I'm sitting in this big bitchin' house in Vegas, career making more money than my family has ever made. And I'm like, I don't feel like I'm doing anything with my life.
Mhm.
Beautiful daughter on the way, marriage is good, house. I mean, you outside looking in, man, you check the boxes. I was just missing the fucking white picket fence for the
Mhm.
dream, right? And I'm sitting
Mhm.
there, I'm like, I am felt so empty. Just, I'm like, I don't know what it is. And dude, I was so fucking miserable, and I mean, again, I had all the check boxes, and it was, for me, it's always been that thing that you go to bed with, or you wake up in the morning and it's it's the God, it's universe, it's whatever it is telling you what to do, and it was always help people. because there's people thinking you're special in the sense of you're the only person dealing with these struggles. You're the only person going through this. You know, what if your story, and dude, when you said it, man, it brought goosebumps to me. What if your story impacts, literally reach out to that 14-year-old Kevin? If I can just sit him down in a room and be like, hey man, can we talk? I just need like 10 minutes of your time, you know, if I can just do, because the mission, I never want it to end, you know? And when you're on something like this, the self-doubt and everything just starts coming in, you know, it's just syndrome, you know, but then it's meeting people like you and Adam, where it's like, no, man, we're after a mission to change the fucking world, because there's people that is going through struggles, and you know, like you were talking about, you're passing by somebody in public, you know, the smiles on the face, dude. Oh, it's just like it gets so loud, right? And you never know what somebody is going through or whatever it is, because a lot of times is, you know, we put a smile on our face and just get through it, right? Especially nowadays, right? Everybody's going along with whatever else everybody else is going through, because nobody wants to be an individual and nobody wants to just take that step out. And the way the world has changed, the way lives are changed, the way everything is changed just throughout everything, is by that one person doing something and stepping out of the box and being like, no, I'm here to help. I'm going to make a difference. And the reason why it's so uncomfortable is because nobody wants to do it, because it is such a powerful story, and it's life changing, because everybody looks at it from the outside and be like, wow, you know, that's me. I can't tell you how many DMs I get of just the different stories, man. There's been, man, I felt like this week's real weird. I mean, yeah, there's shit going on in the world, but this week's just been real weird. And you open up the DMs, and dude, I can't tell you how many nights. I don't think there's been one night this week where I haven't just teared up just by reading these DMs. And it's like, hey, I know my husband's going through this, or I know my son's going through this, or just so many different things going on. Um, that it's just, you know, they're like, what you said or what you did, there's something different, you know, and it seems like they're trying a little bit more, or they're in a little bit better, you know, attitude or whatever. And it's those small things that is just going to make the impact in individuals. And you know, I like to use the saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. It also did not fall in a day. You know,
Right.
because you can have this big, beautiful thing, right? You can have all those check boxes. You can have that, you know, just firefighter, your phone, your dreams, and everything else. But all of a sudden, there's these things that are just constant. One thing that I've had to come to peace with is, you know, the people around you, especially loved ones, you know, whether who you're married to, family members, or whatever it is a lot of times they default and be like, you should be happy. Look at what you got.
Mm.
You know, where I had to, you know, and I've had to have those conversations where I'm like, I don't need you to get it, but I just need you to know where I'm at. Right? This is for me. You know, we talk about it in the group all the time, is you can't help anybody else if you can't help yourself first. You know, you got to make sure, you know, your cup is filled first. And that, you know, this day and age seems like you know, oh, you got to take care of everybody else. It's like, well, you're not going to be able to take care of anybody else if you can't take care of yourself. You know, talked about it in the group last week, you know, with integrity. It's, you know, I like to, you know, I always thought I was that 3 a.m. guy. You know, I want to be able to, you can call me at 3 a.m. and if the phone's ringing, I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, Jake's calling me at 3 a.m. I'm getting my pants on, grabbing the gun, grabbing the shovel, because I don't know what's going on, but it's a 3 a.m. call and I know we got to do something, right? But then it's But what about the times, I'm like, I pride myself in that, but what about the times where I said, hey, I'm going to go work out at 7 o'clock in the morning before work, and I hit the snooze button? What about that time I said, I wasn't going to eat like an asshole, I was going to change my life or get in a little bit better shape, but I didn't? How many New Year's resolutions I did? How many times did I say I was going to be a better friend, a better father, a better husband, better whatever, and I didn't? I'm like, so at the end of the day, I did not have integrity. So how in the hell am I saying I have integrity to help you if I can't even keep a simple promise that I can keep to myself? And it's the mission, the name, it was that war within is just constantly trying to battle that. And I remember when I came across you guys, I was just like, holy shit, these are my guys.
Um,
That's it. And you can't, like, when you sat down and they were telling you about, oh, you're battling the war within. When I saw it, I'm just like, holy shit, that's exactly what it is. You never know how to verbalize anything. It's like, no, I got it. This is what it is. Because you're
the
trying to
fucking name
explain
says it itself,
yourself,
right?
and we don't need to explain it. So I'm going, no, it's just war. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And it's, a lot of people will look at me because a lot of my content started with the fitness and the biking and all that, and the gym and working out is so important. I mean, I'm still trying to get my wheels up to Adam's level, but dude's a savage. But it's the gym is life, right? And what I mean by that is you cannot go to the gym, and what you get out of the gym is exactly what you put in. There is no participation trophy. There is no half-assing it. There is nothing about it. I mean, it is raw, it is pure, and it teaches you about so many things, man. You look at the guys in there that their body is just absolutely jacked. I will hire that person without even knowing their name in a heartbeat. I
Right.
was giving a talk last week. I'm like, to a whole bunch of Salesforce, and I'm like, listen, if you walk in and you shake my hand and you're a fat slob, I have no respect for you. You walk in and I see a bicep vein. What do you say? I'll take three. Grandma needs one and she's dead. So this level of discipline, and it
Right.
translates into everything, and it's crazy because you can you can crack a six-pack of beer and, and you know go go out to eat all the time. You can eat the pizza, you can eat all that, which is all fine. I'm definitely not demonizing it. But then you need to back. I mean, it's why are you going so hard on this? It's you crack a white monster and slam some pre-workout, and everybody thinks.
Right.
Go ahead, you're gonna
Well,
say
I
something.
think one thing you said in there, you said a bunch of good things in there, but there's a couple things that I really want to hit home on in what you said. First of all, the leading, you can't, love yourself, but leading, you must lead yourself. This is something 33 hours was drilled into my fucking skull. You're not leading anyone unless you're leading yourself. Right. So even, you're talking about fitness. I've lost roughly 20 pounds because when Adam and I joined up and we were looking at different aspects of our business, and I was like, well, if we're gonna talk about this, obviously look at you, Adam, you're a fucking beast, right? Everybody wants to be like Adam. I was like, well, I'm not gonna sit up here in my position and talk to people if I'm not going through the fire, right? So Adam wrote me a program. The reason why I'm in the position I am physically right now is because that kid said, I'm going to put you on a program, you're going to follow it, and you're going to turn yourself into the savage that you're vocal, but we're going to round you out, you know. And I want everyone listening to know, you're talking about not feeling like enough, right? And like having everything going on and like all these great things, but you still didn't feel like you're enough. We have to find things, and I think it's huge in physical. I think it's almost the most important piece. Go and do something so hard, like 33 hours. I know I've referenced it a couple of times, but I figured out what hard looked like. That's that's my switch was transformed. But now when Adam puts a workout in front of me, I'll do it until I fucking can't move anymore. Because that's what my brain has been retrained to do, right? And we must continuously evolve, right? I talked about expanding to expand. What it really comes down to is we have to go into the fire. We have to walk into the storm like regularly. Like when you're not feeling it, and when those the voices are talking in your head and they got really, really fucking loud, you got to remember what you've done to get where you're at, Kevin. I mean, fuck, bro, 300 pounds. You got to remember, but if it's not clicking that day, it's time to lace up and let's go to fucking war. What do we got to do that's hard today? Huh? I mean, we see you ride your bike. We see you in the gym, you're reading the books, but that's what it really comes down to, right? It's like, I'm going to go stack a win, whatever that may be. And then that's going to create a foundation. I'm going to stack one win. I don't care how fucking big it is. It could be start the book, the performance mindset book, or I haven't been to the gym, not seeing us, but say I haven't been to the gym in a month. Put on your shoes, go for a run, go hit the weights. If you don't have access to a gym, fucking push-ups and air squats can change your life. During COVID, I lost 25 pounds by climbing hills, doing push-ups, air squats, and watching what I ate. Obviously that was years ago, but it's like, you don't need anything fancy. You just need the fucking mindset to say, today's the day. And guess what? Tomorrow is too, because it all resets at midnight, right? But I think it's important for us to figure out how to stack wins. And that's what this community is about too. A brother to remind you, you killed it yesterday. What are you going to do today? I sent Adam a picture here probably a couple weeks, maybe a month ago. 90 pounds, dumbbells, heaviest I'd ever done. He's like, you got more in you. You got more in you. At the end of the day, I was doing 105s. Never in my life have I ever done flat bench with 105 pounds. It wasn't me. It was my brother. It's a reminder that you have people that are going to push you. You just got to put yourself in the room. You're sitting at the table with us. You're part of our family now. That's how it works. So, yeah, it's important.
No, I appreciate that, man. And it's funny. Top storms, right? And Andy is the buffalo, right? And the buffalo always turns towards the storm,
Yep.
you know, and know, stacking those wins. We were talking about that a few weeks back in the group. Is stacking those wins and recognizing those wins are powerful, because sometimes it feels like 47 different things. And at the end of the day, it feels like we didn't do a goddamn thing, you know. But it's like, oh no, wait a minute. You know what? I said I was going to do this thing that I've been doing before I turn in for the night is I write down what's good, what, and my wins for the day. And sometimes those wins for the day has been reflecting back on I came from. Like, no, it's like, it's okay. You're on your journey, you know, and going on that and recognizing that's just stacking those wins every single day. We were talking about in the group last week is I feel like as a society, I don't know what turned in it, but we got this mentality of like driving a car, and we get out and we let the air out of the other three tires. We just give up. We don't get out, we don't change the tire, we don't move on down the road. We just sit there and be like, oh no, this isn't for me. And it's like, well, you did it for 2 weeks, or you did it for 2 months, or you did it for 2 days or 2 hours or whatever it is. And like, how is it not for you?
Right.
And it's learning and pivoting and going through things, and having that brotherhood of, no, you got more in you, and having that push. I mean, that in itself is probably the most powerful asset any of us could ever have. because it's that, you know, we all have that bitch voice, as strong as we want to be or whatever it is, and just having that somebody just be like, no, man. I remember when I was lifting years ago, you know, my training partner, Jesse, and we used to go and just straight up just throw the weight. I mean, we were there to push. He didn't care, you know, just go for it. And man, I remember we get underneath the bar and he'd just sit there and he would yell over me. Justin, it was at the body shop up there in Sutherland, man. He'd literally lay over me and be like, "Are you dying? Lift it. Are you dead?" And I mean, just like, dude, we just got after it. And it was like you outside looking in just looked angry. And but I mean, dude, we got so much out of that. And I tell you what, we solved the world's problems and what was going on. You know, I mean, it was just we put it all out on the table, and what it did for us is it showed us that no matter how much weight we were carrying, we could always push through it.
Right.
You know, and it's you know it's so important because it's you know, everybody has their own challenges, everybody has their own weight of what is massive to them. You know, I was talking about success last week. You know, every for this the pinnacle of success is what? The Lamborghinis, the Ferraris, the big ass houses. You know, you got a house in Dubai, Miami, LA, wherever it is, right? That's the pinnacle of success. A lot of times success is, you know, your family's happy, you're on a mission. Success is you're healthy. Success is being able to go, something as simple as being able to go to the gas station and not worry about if you have enough money in your account to fill up your tank. Success is being able to take out your friends and family for a dinner, you know, and it's everybody's going through a different walk of life, and everybody had different, now it's everybody's getting hit with finances, you know, and that's heavy, especially on those of us that are providing for their family, you know, and it's just stuff isn't getting cheaper. We may or may not be making more money, you know, how to navigate that. And there's a lot of sleepless nights involved in that, you know, because we want to keep face and we want to make sure everything else is happy, but at the end of the day, we're laying in bed figuring out how we're going to make this happen, you know, and just the stress of work or whatever it is, you know, it all rolled up to a point to where it almost feels like we're going to explode. And it's all these, what is it, death of 1,000 cuts, right? It's not that one massive one that comes in, it's just every day. And how you're talking about stacking those wins and what is working and what you're achieving so massive, and it helps with that mindset to get through that. It's like, no, I am struggling right now, but you know what? I did this today, man, and I'm fucking proud of that. I showed up for me today. You know, even if you're not showing up for anybody else, like, you know what? I did this today. I said I was going to do it, and I did it. I won.
I think one thing too in regards to that, like if people aren't journaling, which I think journaling is important. I don't always have time for it with everything going on, but I operate what's a battle plan. And Andy Frisella talks about it. He's got like, you know, like probably like 10 or 15, you know, he talks about it in his program. Right. But, one thing I think is really important is if you don't feel like you're winning, maybe you create a list of the standard. Like what is your standard for the day? And standards are non fucking negotiable, right? But if somebody doesn't feel, you know, if the voices creep in, you know, I run it on my phone, right? It's just in my notes. But you can go back and look and be like, no, stop, wait a second. Look at all that I've accomplished today. Yeah, the voices might be loud, but I took care of my fitness. I took care of my spiritual. I took care of my family. You know, I got my workout. I got, you know, my mindset. Don't let all this other stuff. There's ways to remind yourself, right? And it's just a quick glance. Look what I did today. You know, my kid's sleeping peacefully in bed. Man, I helped him create that. You know, I, it's really hard to look at the good when there's so much weight you're carrying, you know, or you feel like you're just getting your dick run in the dirt, right? But you got to find a way to be able to reflect and remember how powerful you are amidst the storm, right? Just that what you do matters, and how you feel about yourself is extremely important. And you know, doing things, we already talked about doing hard, but it's like you've got to continually build that inner peace by doing stuff that's going to give you the foundation, right? And just give you like a reminder, like when shit's really hard, I reflect on all that I had to go through, and what happened, and the voices are loud. Don't get me wrong. There's days where I'm like, man, good thing I'm not built like that anymore, because I'd fucking give up in a heartbeat, but that ain't me. It was like, this shit's really hard, man. When, yeah, and the thing is, people can talk all the shit they want and tell you you're no good. You got to remember who the fuck you are. And the only way you're going to do that is by creating inner peace by doing the shit that when nobody else wants to fucking do it. So.
Dude, there's a quote. I don't know who said it. I know it's going around like crazy or whatever, but it's so powerful. Is nobody that is doing better than you will talk shit about you. The people that are talking shit are the ones that are literally battling themselves.
I fucking
like
love that.
we were talking. I was talking to the group last week, and the whole premise last week is, for years, I wanted to have a seat at the table, right? I was in search of having this seat at this made up table with these made up people and whatever, you're just like, if I can just get there, if I can just do that, and I realized, I'm like, you know what? I don't know if I want to be a part of that table, but I'm going to build my own, because when I build my own table, there's going to be the people that are supposed to be sitting at that table are just going to pull up a chair. And those are the people that I want to build with. Those are the people that are going to make an impact. Those are the people that get it. And being a reflection of the 5 people around you, I've told people, I'm like, oh, I'm doing this, this, and this. And it's the, why are you doing that? Or, oh yeah, that's cute, or that's cool, or whatever it is, but then I talk to Andy weekly, and he literally wants to know how this is going. How's it going? Yeah. How's the group going? How are you building it? What are you doing? And it's 2 completely different things, right? This group of people over here is just like, oh, okay, that's cool. Hey, what are you doing this weekend? I'm like, I don't know, podcasting, editing, working, scheduling, like, oh, well, we were going to hit the beach. I live in Southern California. I went to the beach for the first time in 5 years, 2 weeks ago. I was like, this is kind of cool. But I'm sitting there, I'm like, I'm still working. I'm on my phone. I'm like, technology is amazing, right? But then you get in this other room of people and you tell them what you're going to do. And without even missing a beat, what do you need help with? How are you doing it? What are you doing? I mean, what's your game plan? What's your 30, 60, 90? Where's your 2-year plan? And it's just this completely different polarizing thing. And, the fact that we have technology, everybody's so worried about, the people that are around them. And it's like, no, it's, my group, Jake and Adam, you know what I mean? It's just, you're in that group. I sit there the other day, man, I did not want to work out. I opened up my phone, freaking Adam's raw ass legs out. I'm like, son of a bitch, man.
Hey, our
it's
project,
like 8:30. Yeah.
Our project, Adam, tell them the name of our project, the next one.
Oh, our podcast?
Yeah, tell them the name.
It's called The Table.
Yeah.
I love it. That is awesome. That is awesome.
No, I love what you said. I was like, man, I'm going to tell Adam to tell him. So true, though.
That is awesome. Yeah. Oh, man.
And, you know what's wild?
And
we're talking about. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go for it.
It's funny because.
With
Go ahead.
When you were talking about, making the impact and everything else, is you know, social media is definitely a tool, but social media can also be the demise depending on how you use it, right? You know, it's, are you consuming or are you creating, right? And there'll be times where I'm sitting there, I'm like, holy shit, man, it's an hour, you know, and it's brainless stuff, you know, and it's so true. But you know, we hear about, you know, the guys on here hear about making an impact and, you know, making a difference, and I almost feel like we're defaulting and be like, well, I'm not necessarily wanting to make an impact in the world, you know, like that's not for me, which is okay, right? But the impact is, the other day my daughter saw me stretching, and for the first time she's like, I want to stretch like dad, right? Last night after dinner she's like, hey, can we go for a walk how you go for a walk? You know, it's the actions we do that is going to make an impact. And the impact might seem small, might seem large, but again, it's stacking that win. And it's what we do, people are watching
It's
and
compounding.
they're inspired by it.
It's compounding.
That's it.
It's exactly what it
That's
is.
it.
And we're leading by action, right? Aiden's the same way. My little guy, you know, he doesn't really care to work out right now. But we were at my folks' house chatting just a couple days ago after they came back from a trip. He was like, "Dad, I'm gonna do some push-ups right now." I'm sitting here talking to my mom and dad. He's on the ground, does like 3 push-ups. He's 7. They're not, you know, but he's just, you know, but just like it's compounding. And yeah, someone may say that they don't want to, and that's perfectly fine. But I'll tell you what, if you impact one life, that person's going to turn around and possibly generate an idea from what you showed them or what you helped create for them. And they're going to tell another person. And we can create a huge change, a ripple effect, just because of the compound interest on the actions that we take. You know, maybe we want to only help the people in our community. Maybe we only want to help the people at our department, you know, you name it. But I'll tell you what, one life, it'll compound. It's gonna, there will be a movement. That's what we talk about with War Within. It's like this isn't just a brand. This is going to be a fucking movement. Just going to take a while to get our feet moving, right? But that's why we have conversations like we're right now with you today, right, Kevin? It's just like because we're all the same mindset, you know. And we enough people will start making enough noise. People are going to start to be like, well, what's going on here? Who, you know, what's this all about? And it's like, yeah, it's one day at a time. I may not be able to run. I may not be able to
Yeah,
walk. I will crawl.
that's right. You know, it's, I use my daughter as a reference all the time, you know, and it's crazy how kids teach you so much about life, right? You know, because here we are, you know, we're all messed up in our own ways or whatever it is, you know. But then, you know, I look at my daughter, and she has some complications when she was born and stuff. She was in the NICU and everything else, you know, and seeing her battle through that. It's like she's literally just like brand new, and she's fighting for her life, and she's not giving up at all, right? She doesn't know what quit is,
Right.
right? Then when she's going through everything, then watching her learn how to walk, right? But she didn't just roll over on her belly, then get up and walk. She rolled over, then continued to roll until she hit a wall, then learned how to crawl and face plant, then stood up and fell, and all these things. And I'm like, wow, can you imagine if she would have stopped on her 47th time of trying to walk? She would have just not ever walked, you know. And it's those small things that just that no quit, right? And it just compounded us. I'm going to try it again. I'm going to try. There is no failure, right? It's just, all right, I'm going to learn. Maybe I don't take that big of a step, right? You know. And it's what I got out of that is, even if I don't want to impact that person or whatever it is people will look at us, and without ever telling you, we inspire them. They're like, wow, that dude's getting after it every single day. You know what? I could be a little bit better today. And you might not ever see that person. You might
Right.
not ever have a conversation, but they could see that just, it's like, wow, they're showing up every single day. Thing they got, can make the biggest impact in everything
No, it's
in life.
yeah, no, and yeah, absolutely. Well, it's just the relentless drive, but also just like there is no quit. I don't care how many times I fall. I don't care how long it takes. Nothing. The only thing that will defeat me is myself, and I'm not going to quit. I've already been there. I had the gun to my head. I was ready to die, thinking I should die, not ready to die. I was thinking I didn't have a spot in this place anymore. And then look what we've created now because of it. You know, it's like, but I realized through doing certain things in my life that all I got to do is keep showing up. And yeah, War Within's not going to grow as fast as I want it to because I got a vision. And Adam has to tell me to calm down all the time because I want to take steps that are 5 years down the road, right? Because that's the way my mind works. I got this whole thing. I want it to be a funnel. I want it to be a place to attract the people, but also to get the right kind of coaching, and be in this right rooms and have these mentors available for you. But it's like, we want to have a podcast. We want to do this, we're going to do these things, but it's just like there's a system, there's all these systems that you need to put in place, right? But it's just like you can't quit or you can't fail if you never quit. So we're just going to fucking keep trugging along, right? Same with life, right? It's just, man, the clock resets at midnight. I don't care how shitty of a day it was. Go to sleep, wake up, and hit it harder than you did yesterday. We're always searching for that 1%. It's what it's all about. If you're in this community, if you're trying to find the next level in your life, if you want more, and if you're in this group, you want more, right? And that's what it comes down to. It's like, man, today was a hard day. Well, let's see what we can do tomorrow,
It's what's interesting about that is my wife and I will come to the proverbial blows with frequently, and it's always, it seems like it's not enough for you, right? And it's hard to explain or have somebody anything, but why we're always like, okay, if the bar's here, we're raising it. There is no finish line, and Andy and I talked through something, and I'm talking to him on the phone, like, dude, I'm trying to figure this out, and he's all, do you know why people don't understand? Then he's all, that's a gift you have. He's all, people are not built that to want more. They're literally not built to move the goalpost. It's people just are happy or complacent with where they're at, which for them, that's okay. But one thing he told me, he's like, there is what you want and how you're constantly wanting more and achieving more and make a bigger impact and do things with your life. And he's like, we're built different. Jake, Adam, you're built different. Everybody in this group, we're built different because we want more. We may not look at it like we do, but if you're ever listening to a podcast that is for self-improvement or health or whatever it is, that's because you want more. You've ever walked through a gym to just, whether you don't even know what you're doing, you want more, and 6 years ago, I've been racing bikes on a Continental Pro level for a while, and I was always wanting that top step, man, and fuck, I was falling short, falling short, falling short, falling short. And in 2019, I won the whole thing. Like, it felt like everything was clicking. Every race, man, won. And it was points based, it's out of 17 races, I lost 2, but it was second place, right? And I'm sitting there, I'm going and going, and I'm standing up there. They're giving out the reward, the whole thing, state champ, all of this, right? And I was not happy. What I realized, I remember I'm holding my daughter on the podium, and I'm sitting there thinking about how amazing all the shit I went through to get there. And I was excited to go do it again the next day. But
Right.
in that actual moment, achieving this thing that I thought was the pinnacle literally meant nothing to me. I was so checked out because I was like, all the things I did to get here, the days where motivation lasts as long as, hey, I'm gonna go do something tomorrow, and you're so super psyched to do it right now. But when 5 a.m. comes around, motivation does not get your ass out of bed. I don't care who you are.
It's all
That
discipline.
is discipline. Oh man, it's just there's nobody wants to do that. You know, Goggins talks about it all the time. He's like, he is lazy, and he's like, I just have to be disciplined in what I do. You know, and it was the discipline for me of like, I got to go out, and nobody wants to go do something for 9 hours and literally go destroy themselves and wake up and do it the next day and just be like, just to be a little bit better. But I fell in love with the process. Then I realized when I disconnected from that and started looking at everything else is like, I love the process of working through it every single day and being like, okay, how do I fix this? How do I pivot that? Okay, it's, you know, what is it? Done is better than perfect, right? Just, all right, I'm going to go and I'm going to figure it out how it is, right? And just, throw some shit against the wall, see how it's going to stick. Because we get so caught up in like, oh, you know what? I'm going to get all this set up, podcast. I remember, dude, oh my gosh. The first time I did a podcast, the first episode was actually the 17th episode. I didn't know you needed to hit the record button. I didn't know it needed a card. I didn't know when you went to save it on something that you had to put it on another platform. I thought it just went from here to
Straight up.
I don't know, the cloud. Who knows what the cloud is, right? Like everything lives in the cloud. I'm like, if you put podcasts, it just go to a cloud dude, so many different things. Then when I had the one that I thought was perfect, I hit it. Yeah, it is delete. Like it was recorded so many times. I was just like, oh, so it's deep into it, and I got all these people coming out and they're like, dude, we can edit this. And I'm like, no, it's like, I like it. I'm able to do it now, and it's figuring out the process and going through it and learning it. And there's so many times where, I record either Friday, Saturday, or Sunday where it's been a long week. I'm exhausted, but it's like, no, there's somebody out there, having people somebody reached out from Africa the other day. That was the coolest thing. Like, hey, dude, love this thing, man. I'm like, that's just badass. It's just like, but it's learning the process and going through it because the old me, like you were talking about, right? The old me would have gave up on real talk, maybe the first one, like straight up, like, oh no, that's not for me, right? And that stemmed a lot from my childhood and from me growing up is, I was brought up in that place where they're different or that's not meant for us or no, that's, it's stepdad, it was you're stupid, it's this, it's that, it's whatever it is, it's like, no, like we good.
That imposter syndrome.
We're working
That
through
imposter
this.
syndrome, right? Thinking that we,
Man.
and what it really comes down to is overcoming the fact that there's going to be noise in the background. There's going to be people possibly talking shit. We have to learn to silence that, right? We don't care about that anymore. But what it really comes down to is like you said earlier in the conversation, talk to the younger version of yourself. There's a younger version of me out there that's going through some pretty significant shit right now. Yeah, his name's not Jake. You know, he may not be a firefighter. He may not even go to the gym. But what needs to happen is we need to remember that, and we've said it already, I'm not trying to walk on you, but what it comes down to is your story is significant, you know, and putting yourself in the place, you know, with your podcast, with your school community, you know, and it's just like, man, it will resonate with the people that's supposed to, right? We just got to keep putting it out there. And the world's a big fucking place. So it's going to grow because people will talk about it. They'll generate activity. They'll tell their friend, but I think there's a lot to be said with just the imposter syndrome is, you know what, good. Who cares? Guess what? Andy didn't get to be Andy by just fucking, you know, he just shared his story. You know, he started a podcast and then he started another podcast. And I mean, the guy's a business mogul, the guy's a freaking mindset savage, you know, and, you know, but he was sleeping on the floor in his store. He talks about it. It's like he shares. That's how people overcome shit because we're sharing, you know. You know, when you didn't feel like when you got second place and it wasn't enough. Fuck, I think every single day that there's more shit that I should be doing. I know there is, but the problem is there's only so many hours and I can break my day up into so many things and have these battle plans, but I still feel like, man, I need to be doing more. You're not, we got the same, we're built the same, you know, same cloth. So,
Yeah. Adam, you got anything you want to add? You want to jump in here on anything?
I just wanted to relate back to talking about goals and setting goals and following your goals. The thing is with that, I find there's a quote from Matthew McConaughey that says, someone asks him who his hero is, and he goes, "It's me in 10 years." But then when 10 years goes on, he gets asked again, and he says, "It's me in 10 years." Because as you're growing and as you're going through your setting goals, once you achieve the goal, you then have even before you achieve the goal, you then have a new goal and you're trying to get somewhere else because it keeps building and stacking on top of each other. So as you're setting goals, you might not feel accomplished, but because goals change and you're growing as you're getting to those checkpoints, and as you keep going, they get harder and stronger and bigger. So you keep going and you keep moving, but you have to stack those small wins and understand that it's a win to keep going, and that's the thing you got to know.
I love that. It's a really good quote. I remember seeing that too
Yeah,
on
that's
social.
powerful.
There is no destination, right? There is no final
Have you guys read his
destination.
book?
Green lights,
Yes.
fantastic.
Yep.
You know, you talked about journey. I'm not, you know, and we have to remember that there is no final destination. I mean, because like that's what Adam just said. What it really comes down to is, and one of our coaches that when we first started War Within, he said, keep a journal, or he said, even do video. He said, remember the times. He's like, you know, like film yourself as you go through it, because give yourself a couple years and you're going to look back and see what you built and be like, your goal is going to change. You're going to evolve as you go. You're going to keep on creating a better version of yourself as you're walking through this storm, as you're building through the fire. But it's like, you're going to blink and in a couple years, you're going to have built this thing and you're going to want to be able to look back. He's like, because the journey is the most important. That's what Adam just said. You know, and you said it as well in regards to the cycling, you know, and you weren't happy and then you wanted to do it again the next day. It's everything that you do to build up to this greater version, right?
Yeah, you know, it's, you know, we talk about journey and we talk about legacy and we talk about all that, you know, and I have these two dreams that almost feel like a nightmare, right? you know, and I'll share it with the group, you know. One massive, you know, those of us with kids and everything is, you know, I believe when it's our time, you know, we're gonna go meet our maker, and that maker's God to me, right?
Yeah.
And I believe when we get up there, you know, I want my daughter to know that I tried to make an impact in this world, that I tried to help people.
Uh,
And, and the nightmare I have is before he passes judgment on me, that he shows me who I could have been. And my biggest fear, because I
mm,
know who that is, I don't want that person to be a stranger. So every day, if I can just make an impact, whether it's in my life or somebody else's life, smiling on somebody, passing by them out in public, saying hi to somebody in the grocery store. I mean, anything. But those are my two biggest fears. And I don't think a day has ever gone by that I have not thought about those two things. You know,
yeah.
is this going to be an impact to where somebody can come back when I'm gone and be like, your dad helped me? And the second one is that person being a stranger when I meet that person. You know, so for me, that legacy is just making sure I fulfill what I'm called to do here in the world, in life, you know, and that's constantly changing.